All right. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Grab Matters podcast. Today we have a very special guest on, Jake Pelot. Jake Pelot is a pro wakeboarder from Orlando, Florida. Today we talk about his journey getting started riding cable, then transitioning to boat, the future of events, getting some sponsors, and a ton more. We also have a little something special today with Jake. You want to run us through what that little something special is?
Absolutely. So Ronix has decided to support this episode of the podcast with a Supreme board giveaway. So we're going to be giving away a brand new Ronix Supreme board, which is mine and Tyler Hyam's pro model board. It's a pretty sick board, really fun. Graphic on it is sick. But yeah, given away to one of the Patreon subscribers chosen at random. So if you want to be entered in the giveaway, it's the best way that you can support the podcast with Hunter, as well as Ronix is giving you the chance to walk away with a free wakeboard from it. So if you're subscribed to the Patreon by November 11th at 11:59 p.m., you'll be automatically entered. The winner will be randomly chosen, and Hunter will reach out to you to grab your details if you win. But yeah, like I said, the Patreon is definitely the best way for you to support the podcast and what Hunter's doing here. So if it's not just out of the goodness of your heart that you do that, you can also get a free wakeboard from it.
And there's two tiers on there. So there's a $5 tier and a $10 tier. Either one will get you entered to win the board. So if you don't want to spend $10, just spend $5 and you get a good chance of getting a wakeboard. So thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoy the episode.
I approve waterboarding. They're talking about wakeboarding. The thing about wakeboarding, every trick is an invert.
Backside.
Air railings.
A new dimension.
We're live. We're back.
We're live.
Another episode of the Grab Matters podcast. Today we welcome on a very special guest, Jake Pelot. How's it going, Jake?
Real good. I'm super pumped to be here. I've watched every episode, I think, so far, and big fan. So thanks for having me on.
Love to hear it. All right, first question. Favorite grab?
You know, I've been doing like these like melon threes, like where you like pull the grab all the way around, like hang on to it through 270, I guess. Like grab melon early, hang on to it through 270. And it kind of comes around like, I don't know, almost like a toe side stale fish that you pull back around.
Okay.
Like it turns into like a fully different thing. And I think that's my favorite right now. Like I go back and forth a lot on it, but like holding a melon through a three would be, that's kind of trick specific, but I feel like that's
Melon,
the grab
but
yeah.
360.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's right.
I get down with that. I feel like melon is it's such a solid grab.
For sure.
Like melon and tail for me are up there. But
Yeah.
wake pants, yes or no?
Not for me. But so somebody like Toby can pull it off really, really well on the cable. I do not feel like I can pull it off, but I also feel like it's a little bit inconvenient. But like Toby and Trevor Meyer, I think pull it off really well, and it looks sick. Not so much for me, so it's a no for me.
Okay. I was expecting that because I don't think I've ever seen you wear a pair of wake pants.
I don't think you will, but you never know. I'm not never say never.
I mean, that'd be a good video, like a kit change for Jake Pelot. We get you full Tobias kitted out with a tracksuit. All right, we got an early Patreon question here from Travis Robinson. So for those who don't know, you tell us who Travis Robinson is because you know him pretty well.
So Travis is the Ronix rep for the Northeast and Midwest. I've known him since I was probably like 12 years old. He used to work at Performance in Orlando at OWC. They had like a satellite shop there. And he worked there. He moved to Florida to, I think, go to college and worked there for a long time. And I was a little cable rat. I would get dropped off after school and spend the whole day there till the cable closed. And so inevitably, I'd spend a lot of time not riding in the shop. Travis was one of the guys that was there. So we became pretty good friends like at that point, even though I was just like a little annoying grom at the cable. But we remained good friends for a long time, and he ended up getting a job at Ronix as a Midwest and Northeast rep, which is sick because now that he's no longer at Performance and in Orlando, still get to see him a lot. So
funny guy, real funny
Real
guy.
funny guy.
So if you ever meet him, funny guy. He's wondering if you could pick one person to give you a tour around Radar Lake in a golf cart. Why would it be Chad Sharp?
Well put. Well put. Probably there's two reasons. One of them is Chad Sharp has probably done more and knows the lake better than anybody else. That's Radar Lake in Seattle. Like he spent a lot of time there over his very long wakeboard career. And he has stories for literally anywhere you could stop a golf cart on the property. It's a big property, it goes down hills, has the lake, like it's huge. And he has a story for everything. And if you go on the tour more than once, you're going to get a completely different tour than the one you got before. Not even the same stops. Nothing will be the same. Like, he has endless stories. Part 2 is your tour is probably at night after 1 or 2 Miller Lights. And there's no lights allowed on the golf cart because it interferes with Chad's night vision.
He has night vision.
He has night vision. So we're going to go on these tours after drinking a couple beers around the bonfire, get a different tour every time, and it is amazing, like the most heartfelt, genuine tour of like the best times that Chad has had out there. But no lights, not even the golf cart lights are allowed to be on because Chad's night vision guides the way.
Just a wealth of knowledge. Chad
That's
Sharp.
right. He is.
Is it like that at Lake Ronix too? Does he have ever give tours there or no?
He's not a big tour giver at Lake Ronix. From time to time, I think Ruck has kind of started doing a lot of the tours. Mike Ferraro does some of the tours. Chad's got a good tour, typically driving in reverse around the lake. He's an excellent reverse driver. But we don't have a golf cart out there, so tours don't happen as frequently as they do at Radar. But if you can get Chad to give you a tour, it's going to be in reverse, and it's going to be pretty sick.
Fair enough. Good reverse driver, Chad
That's right.
Sharp. All right, let's jump back to the early days of Jake Pelot. Let's run us through where you're from, kind of how you got started in the water sports industry.
So I'm from Orlando originally, and then kind of grew up over by UCF. And then when I was like 9, I think, my family moved out to a lake like east of the airport, and happened to be the lake that a few pro wakeboarders lived on: Sean Murray, Jerry Nunn, Lyman, Freddie Wayne. He was still young wakeboarder back then, but there was a lot of really good wakeboarders out there. And I had didn't know anything about wakeboarding until we moved out there. But this was a time when like Murray was doing all these helicopter shoots, and like, you know, once a month there'd be a helicopter out filming them doing crazy stuff on a wakeboard. Zero idea what's going on, but it looked pretty cool. And so for my 10th birthday, I think I got a wakeboard, and my family had just gotten a jet ski, and so learned to ride behind that. Actually, the first time I wakeboarded, I hated it because I got up. It was cold.
Cold for Florida.
Yeah, relatively thin-blooded. But got up. My dad was a water skier and like water skied in college and stuff, and so he was trying to teach me how to get up like a water ski, and he's pinning it on the jet ski, and I got up, caught my toes, was like, this is stupid. I don't want to do this. And I might have done it a couple more times. And then like in 6th grade, I had some friends that went to the same middle school as me and lived down the road that were super into wakeboarding. So went to OWC with them, and that was kind of where I actually like fell in love with wakeboarding.
Okay, so you did it once behind a jet ski. Your parents didn't have like a ski boat or anything on the lake. It was just a jet ski.
So later on, they got a boat.
Okay.
I think, I'm trying to think of when it was. It wasn't that much later after I learned to wakeboard that they got a boat. It was probably like 2008 that they got a old Malibu 21-foot wake setter.
Okay.
Yeah, what really got me into it, I think, and got me hooked on it was going to the cable with friends and seeing like that community, as well as seeing Sean and Lyman and everybody out on the lake at home. But after that initial toe edge on the jet ski, I was like, I don't think this is for me. But yeah.
Okay, so run us through going to the cable for the first time, because you probably didn't have a cable set up first time you went, or did you kind of go there, get a setup, and then start riding?
No, yeah, I think if I remember right, my first board was like a Liquid Force Squirt, I had like astronauts on it or something.
Okay.
But took that to the cable, and that was the board that I learned to ride on. Took that to the cable and had a very similar experience, actually, catching edges around the corners. Being a left foot forward rider, those left-hand turns will whip you pretty good. But I liked it a lot more, I think, because I had friends that were better than me, and they were able to like kind of help me through the learning process. And So yeah, got whipped around a little bit, but still ended up falling in love with it. So
Because the crew's there, you eat shit, but
that's right. Yeah, it's all good.
they're still hanging out. So who's in that crew? Who are you riding with at a young age there?
So at that point, that was like early on was just my two neighbor friends from school, Max and Nash are their names. And Nash actually lived 2 doors down from Adam Arrington, which I think is kind of how he got into wakeboarding. So had some good neighbors around that kind of influenced everybody to get into it. But they were definitely the crew that I started riding with at an early part. They don't wakeboard or anything anymore, but yeah, they're awesome.
So when did you start competing? Was it first at the cable when you started doing competitions?
Yeah, it was points chase, I think. I think it would have been points chase in 2010 maybe.
Okay, so just a couple years after you got into it.
Yeah, it was pretty quick after competing in the beginner division. So doing like the little community weekly competitions, and that was super fun. I remember the first one I won, Tyler Worrell was in, and he was a lot better than me, and I got really lucky that day. But I did a double grab toe side, front side 180 off the kicker, and that was my wild card.
What 2 grabs were they?
Oh, that's a good question.
Double grab, toe side, front side 180?
Yeah.
Interesting trick choice.
Yeah, you got a unique look when you're just getting started. I want to say it was probably like nose and mute, like same hand grabbing for sure.
Gotcha.
Like maybe just sliding my hand around and claiming that it's a double grab. Who knows?
Hey, you're grabbing it though. That's
But
huge.
yeah, that's right.
Okay, so how does this kind of snowball from, the crew is probably getting a little bit bigger at OWC. You're meeting more people, like you're riding a lot. How does it snowball from just doing points chase to kind of getting a little bit more serious, I guess I should say?
So at that time at OWC, there was like a really good like Grom community. Like there were a lot of people between the ages of 10 and 18, 16, 18 there that were all skill levels from like just started wakeboarding to like Yanel at 13 years old was basically doing tricks nobody else ever did.
Yeah, seriously.
So there was such a cool community of like people in every skill level that were like always there all day, every day, just kind of pushing each other to get better. And with the points chase thing, it built, did you ever do points chase?
I did one.
Okay.
Didn't do well, and I hated it. So,
Okay.
But I know that I'm
Good.
familiar
I'm glad
with
we
it.
have the same story. But points chase like helped me build, like we did the weekly events, right? And then there was a team that I think it was the top 3 or 5 from each division got to go to like the nationals, the points chase nationals, which I think was at TSR. And so I went, I believe for the beginner division, went to TSR. And that was like the first big event that like there were a lot of people at that time. Like cable nationals was a really big thing. Even in the beginner division, there was, I don't know, 50 people riding. Like it was huge. Yeah, so that was kind of how I got into it. And the driving force was definitely seeing like my peers at OWC, like the kids that were similar to my age that were a lot better than me. And it was like a building that way. And
So the community, everybody was doing points chase at OWC pretty much.
Absolutely. Like everybody.
Okay.
Everybody that went there on a weekly basis would ride in points chase. Like there wasn't a casual wakeboarder that didn't ride in points chase just because it was such a fun community thing. Like they built it up really big.
Okay. So it wasn't like I want to do contest thing. It was like the whole community does this.
It was just
what we do.
That's right. It was just what you did at that time. And it was super cool. Like, I don't know, it was really cheap it was $10 an event or something to ride in it. Like it was very attainable for everybody. And it was a way to like help people build, and as well as bringing the whole community in together and just having fun, like a reason for everybody to come together on a Wednesday afternoon or whenever it was.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So when do you start, I guess, doing well? Like, do you immediately, sounds like maybe not immediately, did well at points chase? Like, is there a point where you, I don't know, get a podium or something at a points chase event?
I don't remember a specific thing that was like, okay, this is like, the competitive thing is like now becoming a driving force. But I think it was a lot more like, I personally was a lot more community driven than the competitive thing. I think like maybe it definitely wasn't immediate that I got comfortable on a wakeboard. Like maybe when I was 13 was when I did my first flip. And then I was kind of like, okay.
Built a little confidence.
I think I can do this. And I really want to like see what I can do with this.
Okay.
Toe side front roll off knee breaker at OWC.
What's knee breaker?
That was a little, actually, so I don't think it was actually the original knee breaker, but it was this really steep kicker that they had. I think they, at one point, if I'm not wrong, they had a bigger one that a lot of people blew their knees out on, but it was just like this wall.
Oh, just a wedge.
Kicker. Yeah,
kicker.
just a wedge.
Okay.
And it was just a big wall. A lot of people got wrecked on it. And I'm pretty sure they made a smaller version of it, which was the knee breaker that I knew.
Knee breaker junior.
That's right. But it was the sickest kicker. I mean, I did a front roll off of it, and I also did a crow 5 off of it. Like, it was like maybe the height of this table, like a 3-foot kicker, but you're just running into a wall. It was so sick.
Like a bump, kind of.
Just
a little bit bigger bump.
Yeah.
Okay. So when does boat come into the picture? Because it sounds like you're riding a ton of cable. When does starting to ride boat come into the picture for you?
So at some point, like after starting to ride a lot of cable, my family did get a boat. And because like we were on a lake with wakeboarders, I ended up getting like a used wakeboard boat. And so I would ride some like kind of casually. But I don't think I rode super consistently for a while. Maybe when I was like 14, I got a little bit more into like trying to get in the mix on the boat and like take some of the stuff that I was doing on the cable to the boat. So do you know the name Aaron Perkins at all?
Yeah.
So he's my best friend for a long time. And he lived on the lake, like right in front of Murray. So we would trade off basically, like he was older than me, so he could drive. So he would drive me to the cable and I'd go with him to the cable. And then he would come ride on the boat on my parents' boat. And so we'd kind of trade rides with each other. And that was probably when I started like kind of taking stuff over to the boat and like getting more comfortable on that. And then I got a lot more into it, I think, when I was like 16 and could drive and go ride regularly with other people that had bigger boats. And I think that was when I really got into boat riding more.
16 was when you really started pursuing it?
I think so.
Okay. When did you start competing behind the boat then?
I think I rode 13 or 14. Let's see. It was Wake Games might have been my first event, or gravel. I think Gravel Tour was my first event. And then Wake Games probably would have been my second event. But I was probably 13, maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
It's all kinda...
But boat riding didn't really start ramping up till you were like 16-ish?
Yeah, for sure. Like I could do some stuff on the boat, but I was never like at a high level with it. Like I could do a basic like toe side front roll, maybe a backside 180 and just some kind of basic stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So you got lessons from Murray, right? At some point?
Yeah.
When was that about?
I probably got my first lessons from Murray when I was like 11.
Okay. So super young.
Yeah. And I was one of the, like, I think I got a wakeboard for my 10th birthday. And then maybe for my 11th or 12th birthday, my family got me like a couple lessons with Sean where they just like prepaid for lessons with him. And because he's on the lake, it was super easy to just get out and ride. But yeah, it was still a while, I think, in between like when I started taking every now and then lessons with Sean to when I really started to dive into boat riding. I think there was a little bit of a gap there. But he was very influential in my wakeboarding upbringing for sure.
Okay. So were lessons like a somewhat regular thing then throughout your career there for several years, would you say?
I think so. Okay. Yeah. Like I would maybe do one a month or something along those lines.
Okay.
So fairly regular. I don't remember exactly, but I feel like there was
not several times a week, but
yeah. It wasn't crazy frequent, but it was frequent enough to like kind of keep things moving and good progression happening. So
Okay. So you're with Murray doing a bunch of stuff, probably learning a bunch from him when you do get a lesson. What age, I guess, because you're 16, 17, is like dropping out of school ever a thought that you had of like, okay, I am really kind of pursuing this wakeboard thing. That's all I want to do right now.
Dude, I wanted to so bad. My parents did not entertain that idea at all, but I definitely wanted to. And I also like really wanted to not go to college and focus on wakeboarding. But I think in a way, not having that option kind of motivated me to get as much done with school as I could, as quickly as I could. So like in high school, there was like a dual enrollment option, which you would take like a couple intro to college classes starting your junior year or something. And you got to leave school early, which was my only motivation for getting into the dual enrollment program, was like, okay, I can leave early and I can go wakeboard. And I think like the first semester I had to take an in-person class. There was a Valencia campus right next to my high school. And so you had to take an in-person class there. So the first semester I took one in-person class, but I'm pretty sure it was like an evening class. So I would leave school at 11 a.m. and just go wakeboard and then go back for the evening class or whatever. And then I think from then on out, they never checked my schedule again. So I took online classes and I would just do one class a semester, but get out of school way early and have the whole day to go do whatever while everybody else is stuck in school.
This was never an option in my high school. Obviously, wakeboarding year-round wasn't a thing in Michigan, but like I never heard of anyone doing this kind of stuff. So I don't know if I went to some lame-ass school, but it seems like everybody in Florida is like, yeah, you can just get out of school like 11 or noon, take some online classes, like it'll buff.
I don't really understand why it's a thing. Like, I don't think I had stellar grades in school to like start taking college classes, but for some reason it was an option. And I saw the loophole and like, oh yeah, I'm not going to go spend the whole day at school. That's stupid.
Well, I agree with that. Spending the whole day at school is definitely stupid. Okay. So interesting question. I think had you focused on wakeboarding full time and not done any school, like done the dropout thing, do you think things would be different at all today? Do you think you would have progressed a lot quicker or no?
I might have progressed like skill level wakeboarding quicker, but I don't think I would. I probably wouldn't be wakeboarding professionally, like as a career, had I not done school.
Interesting.
Honestly.
Why do you think that is?
It was pretty demanding, like in like freshman year of college. I was really like, that's when I really started competing professionally and like really being on the tour and stuff. Cable and boat. It was a hectic schedule and it was really hard to keep up with. And full-time, like I kept a full-time schedule in college and it was really challenging. And I think what it did was taught me time management and work ethic and like kind of the behind the scenes stuff that builds a wakeboard career.
Yeah.
Like, and also like how to create value for brands and like do things in a way off the water that can be impactful. So yeah, I think it took away from, I didn't have the same time to wakeboard all day, every day, that I would have had I not gone to school. But I think having that challenging schedule kind of made it like, helped me learn a lot about myself and what I want to do, as well as like creating value for brands, which is how you make money.
100%. So where'd you go to school?
UCF.
And
yeah.
what did you study, or are you studying still? Did you graduate?
No, I graduated. Okay. I studied marketing. Yeah, I was kind of torn between marketing and engineering, and marketing was the one that I could.
Those are very different.
Well, yeah, 100%. Not even close. But engineering has like, that's always been like an intriguing thing to me. Like, but for marketing, it was a less intense school schedule, and I was already kind of doing the wakeboarding thing, and like at that point was making a little bit of money doing it, and I was like, well, I don't think I can do both if I do engineering, but if I do marketing, I can probably handle both things and
It's a nice way to say that a marketing degree is a little bit easier than a lot of other degrees. I can say that because I have one. So. Okay, so you said you're making a little bit of money wakeboarding. Have you gotten picked up by any sponsors yet at this point? Or are those contest dollars that you're talking about?
I was definitely already riding for Ronix. I'm trying to think who else at that time. That might have been, no, Fox was the next year. I think Ronix and Woo.
Okay.
Little track.
I was going to ask about Woo. So let's talk about Ronix first, though. So I think you got started with Ronix pretty young, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So how did that relationship form and grow?
So we're going to have to backtrack a little bit to get the whole story. So when, let's see, in seventh grade, I went to the same middle school as Megan Ethel. At that point, she was riding for Ronix, and she was like 13, like 14. I don't know how old you are in seventh grade. But so we had classes together, and we realized that we both wakeboarded and became friends and stuff. And then the next summer, she's from Chicago or Illinois, and she was living in Orlando. And next summer, she called me and was like, "Hey, can I move in with you?" And I was like,
might be a question for my parents.
That's what I think. I'm pretty sure I told her to that I don't know, she should call my mom, and I sent her my mom's phone number. But she was living down here for wakeboarding, and she was ready to switch up where she was living at. And so I was like, I mean, yeah, it's fine with me, but I don't think I get to make that call. So she called my mom, and she ended up living with my family for 2 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And at that time, like I said, she was riding for Ronix, and she was taking lessons with Mike Ferraro a lot. And so I would go sit in the boat while she was taking lessons, and he's in charge of R&D for Ronix. So at one point he called me and was like, "Hey, I have some boots that I need tested. What size are you?" And I was like, 11. What size are your boots? He goes, 10. I'll find somebody else. And I was like, no, it's fine. I'll make it work. And free boots, right? Like, yeah. I was like, yeah, sick. I don't have to pay for boots. Cool. So started doing testing, like stuff like that. And I did R&D, like just R&D stuff till I was 16, I think.
So what is R&D stuff? Like, what does that mean?
I was the kid that rode the cable 6 hours a day, and they just wanted durability testing on stuff. So like whether it was a left boot or a board they just needed to brake test it basically. So I would sit there, like whether I was testing boards or boots, every hour that I rode, I'd take a Sharpie, draw a tick mark on it.
On the board itself?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Keep track of hours on the boards and everything. So that was all I was doing. Nothing to do with like how the stuff rode, what I thought of it. He didn't care. He just wanted to know if it was going to break.
Board.
Like, yeah. So he knew that. I mean, I think he knew that I would be the one to put 150 hours on a set of boots in a month or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that was how I got started for sure. And then Lake Ronix came about, and it was just the team that could go out there, and my buddy Keenan that rode for Ronix, he would go out there all the time. And at some point Mike was like, "Hey, you can come out to the lake and help us with some stuff." And so I go out there, and it was just this complete jungle around this lake that there was a vision for. I didn't know the vision at all. I just went there with Keenan. I couldn't drive yet, so went there, and we would just spend the days like weed whacking and taking a machete and clearing the shoreline by hand. And, it was like there was a vision for what the guys at Ronix wanted to do with the lake. And we were like, yeah, let's help make it happen. So pretty much every day for a long time after school, Keenan would pick me up, drive me out to Lake Ronix. We'd go spend the afternoons at Lake Ronix, like 3 days a week, 4 days a week. Machete and weed whacker, just in the bushes, cutting down the shoreline. And you've been out there, right? Yeah. So like, that's how the lake kind of got to where it is. Not just me and Keenan.
It was all Jake. It was all Jake, just cutting down the grass.
It was everybody, but that was a big part of how I got to know everybody at Ronix and kind of further my involvement there. Specifically, like one time that stands out that I was like, oh man, maybe I'm actually like starting to be a part of the crew was they were having a team meeting and I was not a part of the team. I was just the kid that put hours on stuff, and they were doing it under this tiki hut on the beach. And they had just planted these palm trees. They had to water them every day, 5-gallon buckets, 10 gallons per palm tree. And so they started doing the team meeting, and I was like, well, I'm not just going to sit around. So I like start watering the palm trees, 2 buckets, pick them up, walk them up the shoreline, pour them in the tree, do it over and over for every tree. And we got a crazy storm. Like you've seen the Florida afternoon storms, like out of nowhere, came through, got wild. But they were doing the team meeting, so I couldn't go in there. So I was like, all right, I'm going to keep just watering these trees in the rain. And finally Ruck was like, hey, kid, come on up here, get out of the rain. And so went up there, got to sit through a team meeting.
What's a team meeting like? Is it at all similar to a safety meeting, or is it just strictly a team meeting?
It was truly like developing the lake, like plans for what's going to happen with the lake, like with the 2.0 setup,
blueprint kind of stuff.
That's
like
right.
This goes here.
Yeah. And kind of and it was, I think, an open forum basically for like everybody on the team had say in what projects were going to happen at the lake. And
so who is in that team meeting? Who's there with ideas?
Brad, Ruck, Chad, Adam Arrington, Keenan Allen, probably Austin Pratt, Mark Rossiter, Todd Watson. I would say that, and then Ferraro would be there as well. And then I think they did them like every Wednesday or every other Wednesday or something. They would do the team meetings. But that was my first time like actually like talking to any of the guys and like being around it. And so that was a cool moment.
Okay, so how does this relationship with Ronix continue to grow? I guess you're in the backyard of Lake Ronix, you're there all the time, but how does it take the step from, okay, this kid's putting hours on boards to, okay, maybe he'll be a good fit to get paid by us and, be a part of our actual team?
I think a lot of it had to do with what was going on off the water. Like the time that I was putting in at Lake Ronix and helping out with that stuff, as well as being involved in the R&D stuff. Like at that point, I think I had started to be more involved in actual design of boards and like having input in different layups on cable boards and different surfers and stuff like that, like where we'd actually be riding it and giving our feedback on what we like and don't like and stuff like that. So that, like with being more involved in every like little facet of that, and then with how big of an undertaking Lake Ronix was, that like all hands on deck were needed, especially at that point to just get the ball rolling with everything. I think that would be what made that transition actually happen. And I mean, there was a lot that went into it. Like I remember like at Nationals in West Palm Beach, I think I was helping Bill Porter, the owner of Performance, set up his tent. And one of the things that Aaron Perkins, backtracking again, like told me early on was like, in the wakeboard industry, like everybody's awesome. So like not being afraid to like go out of your way and meet people, but also like people can always use help, whether they're setting up a tent or whatever. Like if you're not doing anything, you might as well see if somebody needs help to make their day easier with what's happening. I feel like that's a pretty good way to live life. But that was one of the things that he told me early on was like at an event, if you're setting up for nationals and there's 2 people setting up a tent, maybe a third would help them. If they don't need help, they'll tell you they don't need help. But if you offer it and you can help them like make their day easier, why not do it if you're
there anyways?
Yeah, exactly. If you're not tied up doing something. So I was helping Bill set up his tent at nationals, and helped him out. And then like the next day I got a call from Paul O'Brien, and he was like, hey, I just wanted you to know, like, I got this call from Bill saying how much of a huge help you were setting up. Like, nobody else was there helping him with the tent and blah, blah, blah. But basically, a lot of that stuff culminated in that conversation. He was like, I would like to start paying you. Like, actually.
I was going to ask, what's the moment where
that was it. Yeah. And it was definitely like, he's like, you're not going to get paid a superstar salary, but
we're bringing you in.
Yeah. I want to start this off because you've put in the work and we want to recognize it.
Okay. I find that fascinating because I feel like the hardest thing for people to do is to go from getting a board like on flow with the brand to actually making the next leap to getting paid.
For sure.
And there's a reason that a lot of people don't make that next leap. It's probably because of the things that they're not doing off the water, is what I would imagine.
I mean, I think that's pretty true. I think there's a lot of people that, like, I definitely don't think I have all the answers on this topic whatsoever, but I think at this point, like, you have to create value for brands, whether it's being on the ground, working, doing something for them, or you're at a boat show helping with sales, or whatever like niche that you can create value for a brand in, you have to do it aside from wakeboarding. Like, there are very few people, I think, that have made a career in wakeboarding, at least recently, just from strictly being good at wakeboarding. So I think I agree with you. I think that the hardest part is making that jump. And I think you have to put in some time. And I think Shane said this in his conversation with you. But like, there's going to be time that you put in for free, for sure. And you have to do it not expecting to get the return. You have to do it because you love the industry and the people and what you're doing. And not everything is, hey, I did this for you, pay me.
Yeah.
It's not how it works.
It's not that quick.
You got to put the time in, and
100%.
And I think for the right reasons too. And I think you can get a feel for if somebody's helping you because they want something from you, or if they're helping you because they care about what we're doing. So.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so you mentioned Woo earlier. When does what was or is Woo? Is it still a thing?
I believe they are still a thing. They started off in like kiteboard air tracking, basically. So like I think at their start it was like a little tracker goes in a mount on your board and tracks how high you go.
Shane had a couple of those.
Yeah, that'll happen. And so they wanted to get into wake stuff, and they actually had a really cool idea. It didn't end up working out long term. But they wanted to basically like gamify wakeboarding, like track every trick, have this little device be able to track every trick you were doing, how well you landed it, how high you went, how many G-forces you landed with, and then essentially like create a point value based on your amplitude, how well you landed, and then the trick that was done. And so then you could be in a competition with people in different areas of the world that were wakeboarding, boat or cable, and kind of
compare stats and all that stuff.
Yeah, like for a session, whether it was how much time you spent in the air in a session, or how long you rode for, or the total score for the tricks you did, or whatever it was. Their whole goal was basically tracking the tricks you were doing, and then creating a game out of it to where you can compete with. If you were in Michigan and I was in Florida, we could compete against each other, right? So
okay,
yeah.
So how do you get on that team, and what's that looking like?
I think Ferraro connected me with the guy. His name's Leo. That wanted to kind of get into it and spread to wakeboarding from kiting, because I think they had some good success with kite stuff, and they wanted to branch out a little bit. And so he basically was like, hey, we want to do something with you. We want you to be involved in like the development of building out this program, pay you to be a part of the brand.
How much are we talking?
It was like $300 or $400 a month.
Okay, but it's a good amount.
Yeah, I mean, I was 16 or something. I was pretty hyped on.
Oh, okay.
Getting going.
And this is after Ronex too, so
yeah, right around the same time.
you're kind of seeing that.
Yeah,
you can make some money off.
Yeah,
this.
for sure. And it was cool. Like, it was amazing. Like, to have some money coming in with relatively low expenses. Like,
because you're still at home, right?
Like, yeah, exactly. Still at home, had like some travel budget for events, and like was making a little bit of money coming in. So it was starting to develop into like a clearer path to where, yes, like maybe there's a way to actually do this longer term.
All right. Well, we're on the topic of sponsors. You mentioned Fox. Mm-hmm. So when did that come into the picture, and how long did that? Because they got out of wake. It seemed like
pretty quick from when I got on.
Okay, I was gonna So what's Fox look like?
So I had like Murray rode for Fox for forever. So once again, backtracking a little bit. Sorry to keep doing this.
No, it's all part of the story. It's good.
When I was probably like 13, I remember asking Sean, like, hey, can you send me your team manager's info for...
When you're 13?
Yeah. Like,
okay.
For all the companies. Like, I want to get sponsored. And he was like, okay, I will, but just know, like, there is something like valuable. I'm paraphrasing. It's not exactly what he said, but there's something valuable about not having obligations. And as soon as you have sponsors, you have obligations, and it becomes work. That said, so don't chase this. You don't need to chase this right now. That said, if you really want it, I'll send you their information. And he did. And I emailed everybody, and they all let me down very nicely.
At least they responded.
Right. I'm pretty sure, I was thinking about this. I'm pretty sure I got a response from every person that I emailed, which is crazy. Like,
yeah,
I was like a random kid that could do a front roll on a wakeboard, and they all emailed me back. But one of the ones that like really thought out the response was Todd Hicks, and he was the Fox team manager. And he like gave me a seriously encouraging like email back, like, hey, we don't have room in our program, but like keep doing it, and hopefully we can figure something out down the line if things continue to grow. Fast forward, I kind of kept I would talk to him probably once a year, just send him an email and be like, hey, this is what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. Like kind of the same, like kind of pitch myself, also just check in, but like stay in his ear a little bit until I was 16. And then he was like, okay, yeah, we'll do something with you. And that was not paid. I was in juniors, and that was one of the things that they would never pay juniors. They paid when you turn pro. So I started writing for him for product, and he was awesome, like one of the most genuine people. Always told you how it is, and never sugarcoated anything, which I respect a lot. Like it was very much like, this is the situation, lay it all out. Like, so wasn't getting paid, but I was getting flowed product, which was really cool. And then when my rookie year, like turning pro or like riding in pro, that was when they actually brought out a contract, which was pretty cool.
Okay. So you won Rookie of the Year, right? Is that,
yes,
that's the point you're talking about right now?
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah. I think I started getting paid like the year that I finished juniors. So it was before I won Rookie of the Year. Like when going into my rookie year, I was getting paid by Fox.
Okay. So right before then is when you started.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about winning Rookie of the Year. I mean, it's pretty sick. Right?
Yeah, that was cool. That was a nice surprise. That was a really fun year on the tour. Like Dean Smith, I think Phil was still riding maybe at that point. Like there was a fun like group of like younger and older generation wakeboarders that were like kind of all meshed. Like a lot of people at the tail end of their competitive careers, and a lot of people just starting. So that was fun. Got to do a lot of really cool events that year, and at that time I was still riding boat and cable. And I remember being at Cable Nationals, and I got a call from Priscilla that organizes a lot of the tour stuff, and she was like, hey, I noticed you haven't signed up for the last Pro Tour stop. Just wanted to see what you were thinking. And I was like, oh, there's a cable event like that overlaps with the last stop. I'm considering not going to the last stop. She was like, well, you might want to consider going to the last stop because you're in contention for rookie of the year. And I was like, well, I'll think about it. And she was like, I would seriously consider it. Like,
Sounds like they may have had their mind made up about who was going to win.
Not telling me, but doing everything she could to tell me without actually telling me. And so I decided to go ahead and go to the last stop.
So what were your, I guess, positions like throughout that whole year? Like, you didn't win any events, right?
No,
okay,
no,
obviously,
no.
but
I don't think I didn't podium at all. I made finals like a few times. And yeah, I don't think it was like anything crazy, but I think I made most of the finals, and I think that was probably
for a rookie. I mean, that's
yeah.
first year. So how do you find out you won rookie of the year? Is it at the last stop and they do like an award show or whatever?
Yeah, basically like just as they're doing the awards for the event and for the season, they did the rookie of the year thing. And so
you get anything for it?
Just a little glass trophy, which is cool.
All right.
Nice.
So talking about competing, you've had some pro wins, right? Not on the pro tour yet, but what would you say is your what win means the most to you that you've had so far, or contest result? It doesn't even have to be win, contest result. It could be.
I don't know. That's tough. I think like on paper, the 2021 like Pan Am thing was like probably the biggest seeming event, but there was not a lot of people that went. Like it was one person from one or two people from every country. So like with that being the case, like a lot of the people weren't there.
So how's that decided? Why it's one or two people from each country? How do you?
I think just whoever will.
Availability, pretty much.
Yeah, basically. I think it's availability for who can do it. And Gunther and Tyler couldn't do it. I went, and Cody Honeycutt went for the U.S. And then, but yeah, that was a fun event, and that was a cool, like, that's a nice title. But I think honestly the pro tour from this last year, getting second at that one, means more to me, like as far as like I felt like that was a really hard event, like just riding conditions. So like that was the one that stands out to me.
Okay, I was gonna ask. I mean, it's kind of a weird question, but what makes a pro level contest a pro contest? Because you just said Pan Am. It was you. I mean, other pros are there, but it's not all the pros.
Yeah, and that's like I think like part of like by no means was that event easy.
For sure.
But you don't have the deep field of like at Pan Am's, like none of the Australians, none of the Europeans are there. So that takes out a lot of the wakeboard field.
Yeah.
Right? It was still like a challenging event to ride in. But I think like when you look at the field of the events, like I would say the Pro Tour events are significantly harder events overall to do well in, because there's such a deep field of riders that can do well.
And that is the one event where all the pro riders will compete.
For sure. Okay. Yeah. Like at, obviously like at the Pro Tour, they cap it at 16 riders, but I think it is for the most part, like the 16 people that could contend.
Yeah.
Like in a way, right?
Anyone in the world, if there's going to be people that are going to win that contest, it's going to be one of those 16 people.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of pro wakeboarding, what does it mean to you to be a pro wakeboarder? If you were to put a definition on it.
I don't know. That's a really interesting question.
Because you're a professional wakeboarder, right?
Yeah.
So what does it mean to be a pro wakeboarder?
Like if I was doing like a job description?
Yeah, if someone asked you like, okay, you're a pro wakeboarder, like, what does that mean?
I would say part of it is wakeboarding and trying to be like okay at wakeboarding. But the bigger part of it is, like we talked about earlier, like spreading like the thing that we love to the people that want to be a part of it, and then creating value for brands in the process. And like, I think the way to make a living is by doing events that bring people in and help to build the the pie. And also I think as a pro wakeboarder, you have a responsibility you were influenced by people. Like I was influenced by pro wakeboarders to want to do this and like be involved in this thing. And to be in a position now to go to like Ronix demo days and go get people up on a wakeboard or teach them a new trick or all that stuff, that's like really rewarding. And I think it's a really important aspect to what we do is like spread the sport to as many people as we can and try to share why we love it and help people love it so that we can grow.
Okay.
Like, I don't know, to me, that's like, as a pro wakeboarder, like I like riding in competitions, but I really enjoy going to demo days and like giving people an experience on the water and like helping them with something that they've been struggling with. Or just giving them a good experience. Like to me, that's like some of the most memorable things from my childhood is like interacting with pro riders and like at OWC, like happening to be in the right place where you'd come across pro riders. So like to go do things with the brands that we work with to help to grow what we're doing and spread the love of wakeboarding. And like that's fun. And that's also like probably the most rewarding part of it for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jake Pelot, professional wakeboarder. Run us through, you were just kind of right there elaborating on, what you do as a professional rider. What does an average summer look like for you when it comes to, contests, obligations with sponsors, demos, like all that stuff? What does an average summer look like for you guys?
I mean, it gets pretty hectic. We're like contests have there are fewer events now than there were when I first got into it. But there's still, 8 competitions throughout the 3-month main period of summer that are like the big events. And then in between, I do a lot of demo day stuff with Tigé, with Ronix, like time on the road spent, like I was just saying, like getting people out on the water. That's, I would say, even split for me is competitions and then all that stuff, which is my priority. Like I want to spread the love and like show why we do the thing and help people love it. So that's like between June and September is pretty much constant traveling, whether it's for an event or for demo day stuff and shoots and things like that. So.
Would you rather have more contests like it used to be, or even the amount of contests you have now, or even a little bit fewer and more traveling around, demoing, boots on the ground, getting with people?
I think there's like important aspects to both of them. Like personally, I think the amount of events that we're doing right now is pretty sustainable. Like
8 in 3 months it seems pretty good to me.
Yeah. And that's a rough guess. Like
Sure.
I'll have to look at, but I feel like it's like a pretty sustainable number to where like, if you don't have a lot of other obligations, then you're home training and riding a lot.
Filming for a video part.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And if you do, then you still have time to be on the road and fulfill the other obligations as well as still going to the events. So I like that. And I think there's a lot of value in the competitions as well. Like having something that showcases the sport at a high level to an audience that cares, and like kind of keeping the core audience involved in some way, tracking the sport.
Yeah, it makes it legitimate too.
Yeah,
you have to have some sort of professional tour for both cable and boat riding for it to be a legitimate sport, not just a hobby. So
absolutely,
it's huge. On the other side of that, I'm curious about boat show season, and because I think a lot of people aren't super familiar with the American boat show. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people are, but some people might not be, with how they work, how important they are. So what's it look like for you in the off season, boat show season wise?
Pretty much a boat show every weekend from January to March. So between Tigé and Ronix, I'll go, all around around the States to different boat shows. And basically like Thursday or Friday to Sunday at the boat show, helping answer questions and talk about if I'm there for Tigé, talk about the boats and help people through the looking around process and just talk shop. And same with Ronik's stuff, help people get in the right gear and try to do what we can to get them ready to be set up for the experience in the summer. I think that's how a lot of you've been to some boat shows. I think that's how a lot of places, especially with cold weather, look at boat shows is like the summer prep. So I think like being at a lot of those as a rider, my goal is to give my guidance to help them have a good summer.
Okay. So if someone, I mean, people who go to boat shows probably don't realize you're there long hours, it's long days and then long nights as well. So like run us through an average day. What time do you get to the boat show? How long are you there for? And then what do you guys do afterwards?
Probably, I feel like most boat shows open at 9 or 10, close at 9 or 10, depending on the day. So yeah, work the show for 10, 12 hours, go do a giant group dinner with a bunch of people, and maybe drink a beer or two after dinner, or 3. You never know.
All right, hypothetical question. Say after a boat show, you're out at a dive bar. You go to use the restroom, but you don't touch anything in the bathroom. Do you need to wash your hands?
Where did this question come from?
I mean, I'm surprised you don't remember, but that's just a hypothetical question. I'm asking.
I'm trying to rack my memory about where this would be from. No? Yes? I feel like you should. I feel like you should.
I didn't, and you gave me a hard time, so that's what I'm wondering.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Yes. No, you absolutely should, dude.
Oh, you turned the tables.
Well,
real quick.
okay. But you definitely touched something in the bathroom.
I'm maybe the door going in, but I think I used my elbow.
But, so the door opens towards you one way and away from you the other way. Yeah. So like you probably didn't use your elbow both ways. So
You're probably right.
Touch the door.
Say there's no doors.
I mean, you could probably get away with it, but like if you're at a bar, your hands are probably getting dirty, so you should probably
that's fair.
Just
that's a good point.
Wash your hands.
Yeah, I still probably won't do that, but that's a good point.
I do remember that now. That's funny.
Okay. So being a pro rider has changed a lot from the old days of doing well at contests and doing some photo shoots and whatever. And nowadays there's a huge weight and emphasis on social media stuff. Does it get annoying at any point or tiresome of constantly feeling like you need to put out content on social media? Is that something that is a little bit tiring about being a professional wakeboarder?
A little bit, but I also I enjoy doing that stuff. Like you probably learn a lot when you edit. Like I feel like I learn a lot every time I edit. Like my goal is to do something in editing that I haven't done before. So like try to make a game of it and get better at what we're doing. So it's not like just getting stuck in the process. I would say like I don't mind editing and like putting together stuff. The one thing that midsummer definitely gets a little tiresome is shooting every time you're riding and like trying to juggle contest season, as well as enjoying wakeboarding.
So do you feel like every time you go out and ride, you need to get at least some form of content to put out there?
Not always, but in the summer, I feel like because the travel schedule is so hectic, like it kind of turns into that. Like when you're home, if you're home for 2 or 3 days that week, you should probably get some content while you're riding so that you have stuff to post.
Okay.
Which isn't a bad thing. Like I said, like if you can keep it like fresh and engaging, then like it's awesome. But if you're trying to if you feel like you're playing catch up with your riding to be ready for contests, and then you also feel the pressure of having to get content, that's where like it gets a little hard.
Overwhelming, stressful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're talking pro tour, and we can move on from the pro tour in a little bit, but you said you got second last year. What's it going to take for Jake Pelot to get a W on the pro tour?
It's going to take a couple things.
All right. What is it? Let's hear it.
I mean, should probably get a consistent double flip, at least one. The consistency.
You working on one?
Yeah, I mean, I've done a couple double cap rolls, but the word consistency is the key.
Yeah.
And then maybe another Mob Fiver of some sort. I don't know.
So a couple new tricks.
Yeah, a couple new tricks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you got second, so you're sniffing.
Yeah. I mean, that was I think like Shane also talked about this, but like sometimes at events things are crazy. Like that event specifically, the water conditions were tough, like really, really tough. Like a lot of uncharacteristic falls from people on things that like they wouldn't usually fall on. So I would say like my riding at that event, I rode well, but it wasn't like, it was basically like the typical run that I do in semifinals at any Pro Tour event.
But the conditions were so
But
bad.
the conditions were bad that like, so I landed it and I landed everything well, which was cool. And that in those conditions that like, that was enough. So it wasn't that I like rode out of my mind spectacular. I just rode well in the challenging conditions. And yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't ask how. They ask how many.
That's
I
right.
mean, there's no excuses for getting a win. Just because if somebody else fell and the conditions are bad.
Hey,
you
I mean, it was hard for everybody. So.
Exactly, dude. What would you say is your favorite event on the pro boat side of things?
Like series or
Just
like single
it could be
event?
single event. It could be anything. One you have the most fun. Look forward to the most.
I mean, Double or Nothing is a really good time. That one is super fun. And then the team challenge this year was awesome at Pro Tour. So at the last Pro Tour event, they did like a normal Pro Tour stop, and then they did a team challenge where like the top 6 or 7 ranked guys on the tour picked a team, and one guy would do a run, one guy would do a double up, and a girl would do a run. So each team had 2 guys and one girl that were split up through the different divisions. And that event was probably the most fun, like normal competition kind of event. It was just like such a fresh take on the tour and like such an interesting way to like group everybody together.
Definitely. Yeah, I like team events. I think they're a lot of fun. Shakes it up for sure, rather than just your typical down and back passes.
Yeah.
But, all right, let's talk. Actually, I got a story that I'd like to hear you tell. Actually, answer this question, I guess, and then maybe it'll spark the story. How fast can you do the ropes course at Lake Nona Adventure Park?
Oh,
Do you know how fast you can do it?
I don't.
It was fast.
There's like a real number on it, but I don't know that.
Minute and
number.
24 seconds.
That's pretty good.
It looked fast.
I mean, I think they fast forwarded the video maybe, but
Yeah, they did, for sure. But
it
you're
looks
zipping
really
through
fast.
there. So you know what I'm talking about, and I'm going to
do.
put the clip in.
Oh, hey, look! It's my really good friend! Hey, Jake!
Hey, Blippy.
Did you know that Jake is a pro athlete? Yeah! He's really good at all kinds of sports and really cool things, like ropes courses. Yeah! So, is it really hard being a pro athlete?
it is. But it's a lot of fun.
But how did this? You're on a YouTube kids show.
Yeah,
Is
Blippy.
that the way to put it? YouTube kids show.
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I would call it.
How did this happen?
So this was super random. Jeff, the manager at Nona Adventure Park, hit me up and was like, "Hey, would you have any interest in doing this this YouTube show that's coming to the park? They're looking for a wakeboarder. They want to do like a wakeboarding thing." I was like, "Yeah, sure. What's it called?" And he told me it was Blippy. I'd never heard of it, but I looked it up and they have a really big YouTube channel.
It's huge.
Really
It's
big.
over a million people. Yeah, a million subscribers.
So I went and did it and taught him, like, the first thing that we did that day was a wakeboarding, like a full wakeboarding episode on the cable. Taught him how to wakeboarded with him.
And it
all
was
that.
filmed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The whole thing was like walking into the park, him learning to ride on their 2.0 cable, and then like riding the full cable, and then they had me dress up as him and wakeboard so that it looks like he learned to wakeboard that day.
Movie
And then-
magic.
That's right. It's all about what you see. But that episode never came out. So it's somewhere in the archives of their stuff. But the one that did come out was we finished the wakeboarding thing. It took it was a long filming day with that. And then they were like, "Hey, we still have some sunlight. Should we go do the ropes course since we're here?" And I was like, "Sure, sure." And then that was the one that came out, was the ropes course episode.
Bummer the wakeboarding didn't come out.
I know, it was actually awesome. He killed it. It was really a cool thing. That would have been awesome. Maybe it'll come out. We'll see. One
Hopefully.
day.
I watched most of the episode, and it was very, Interesting. You put mayonnaise on his face at one point. It was, yeah, I'll put it in the clip. It was funny.
He put mayonnaise on his face?
Yeah, when he did a jet ski. It's like an hour and a half or hour 40 long episode.
Maybe I haven't seen
that. This is like the first portion of.
Interesting.
And then he like goes to a ski resort, and then he goes to do like a stand-up jet ski. It's a whole thing.
Wow.
So you get an appearance fee for that, or what? What's that like? No?
Nope.
Just some publicity for Jake Pelot.
There for the vibes.
Oh, man. Okay. Let's talk a couple different sponsors. Tigé. I think this is probably a pretty big one for you. So how does the opportunity with Tigé and a boat sponsor relationship come about?
So I had done Tigé's photo shoots for probably 4 or 5 years before I did anything further with them. And that was kind of a random Brad Rutledge shoots all their photos, and he called me one day and was like, hey, they're looking for somebody to do a wakeboarder do their shoot. Would you be interested? So I did, and kind of kept doing it for the next few years and got to know everybody that is a part of their crew pretty well. And everybody's pretty awesome there, man. It was like a pretty refreshing like group of people that are at the company. And so got to become like friends with most of them and over that time, and the shoots are always something that I look forward to. And then in COVID times, I think it was probably maybe early to mid 2020. I just reached out and was like, hey, I've been doing these shoots for a while, and like, love you guys, love the boats. Like, I wonder, like, is there an opportunity here to do something more? And unfortunately there was. And yeah, so it's been a fun few years since then. But yeah, they're just an awesome group of people, and that really spoke to me. It was like being with a company that like has a really solid core group of people. That's like.
What do you mean by group of people? Like other team athletes, or like
no, like behind
the
scenes
okay.
at the company, like in the marketing department, the engineers. Like, I consider them like friends, like really, really good friends, and that's, I feel like, pretty rare to have just such an amazing group of people that care so much about water sports behind the scenes at a big company like that. And so that was what spoke to me about Tigé, and like the reason that I ended up reaching out to see if there was something more that we can do was because it's special. So
yeah, you've had a relationship with them for a while.
Yeah,
shoots for a while, which helps.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sure. So everyone from Tigé, stop listening right now. Boat or cable? Remember, people at Tigé not listening.
Yeah, they stopped.
They stopped listening. Boat or cable? What do you prefer?
Man, right now boat. I used to go back and forth on.
All right,
this
you
a
can
lot.
tune back in. People from Tigé. You said boat. All right.
I used to go back and forth on this a lot. I don't know, for some reason lately as in like the last few years, boat has been very much like what I look forward to riding every day. I still like riding cable. I don't do it as frequently as I wish I did. But growing up, I would flip-flop on it constantly, dude. Like, I'd be all in on cable riding, and then 3 months later, I would have no interest in going to the cable. Just strictly want to ride boat. And I would just go back and forth like that, and I don't know why, other than I think I was riding so much that I would just burn myself out. And then, like, boat would be a fresh take after riding cable for 3 months all day, every day. And then, so I would just go back and forth between that. And fortunately in Orlando, it was easy to get a ride on a boat or go to a cable park. So, so I used to flip flop on it a lot. And I think that was why I rode like for a few years of like boat and cable pro events, like I couldn't decide what I wanted to do. And then the last few years I've been pretty like addicted to boat riding and still enjoy cable riding, but competitively it's a lot harder to keep up now in the cable world. Everybody's really, really, really good. And I feel like if you're not all in, even if you are all in, like I wouldn't probably keep up with them.
It looks a lot different now than it did 5 years ago.
100%.
For sure, the cable scene. I mean, you just watch Trent, Gavin, like Loic. So many people's runs are like
they're unreal.
Yeah, unreal. So what's your split now, would you say, is boat and cable? Do you still ride cable a little bit at all? Or?
A little bit, yeah. It's probably 90-10, 95-5 maybe.
Oh,
like
okay.
Pretty boat heavy.
Okay, not much then.
Especially recently. I would say like in the winter, I ride a lot more cable because I'm home more. So like in the summer, if I'm home, I'm going to ride boat. And I feel like there's only so much wakeboarding my body can handle at the ripe old age of 25. So I'm actually 26 now.
Wow, you aged really quick right there.
Yeah.
A whole year in a podcast. It's crazy.
But yeah, no, I think in the winter I ride a lot more cable just because I'm home more and have more time to not feel like I have to do this and this and this. Like,
makes sense.
I can spread it out a little more, and I really enjoy that.
So do you plan on doing any cable events ever, or is that kind of probably not?
Probably not.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, like if there was like I don't know, next year Worlds is in Australia and like boat worlds and cable worlds at the same place, I'm there. Maybe I'll ride just for fun to do it. Cause I do still really enjoy it. Like there's 0%, like I would probably not go travel to Europe again to compete in a cable event just for a cable event, because I think that would be kind of pointless for me to do. But if I'm at another event and there's an opportunity, like, yeah, I might ride. I'm not going to go try to, I have 0% chance of winning, but I might go ride and have fun.
Yeah, you're there. Might as well, right?
Yeah.
Or a slider spectacular at OWC, which you have a stellar career in.
I do have a pretty solid slider spectacular career record.
A few dubs in there at least, I think. So, all right. So speaking of travel, going to Australia, where's the coolest place wakeboarding has taken you think?
Probably, I mean, I really like every trip to Asia that I've been on has been awesome. Like Portugal a lot. I would say like the standout to me is the Philippines. Like I really enjoyed the trips to the Philippines for cable events.
Okay. When was the last time you were there? I guess I don't know.
I'm going to have to check the wakeboard site for that one, but probably 2017.
Okay.
Maybe. Something like that. 2017 or 2018.
Okay.
Something like that.
Asia, Philippines, favorite place so far?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a solid place to be. Sure. You ever gotten a boarding pass ripped up while you're trying to board a plane?
I have.
How'd that go?
It was wild, dude. It was so weird.
Let's hear
I'm trying to think of what trip this was. I was in Mexico for sure. But hold on, let me gather my thoughts on this.
This was from Jamie.
This was super weird. This whole like airport experience was so bizarre. Okay, I was at this I don't remember the city in Mexico, but it was like in the mountains. I was flying out in the morning with a layover in Mexico City. So we take off pretty early, go to land in Mexico City, and we're like, dude, like descending, and the runways, like, let's see, this Fresca is a building. We're like this, descending, and then they just hit the throttle and we climb again.
Right before you
before we landed. You couldn't really see anything, but you could kind of see the tops of some buildings. So I don't really know how high we were, but just crazy throttle, straight up, bank a turn. They're like, come on the intercom like 5 minutes later, and they're like, yeah, it was way too foggy for us to land there, blah, blah, blah. We're going to sit here and circle for a little bit. So we circled. Like this was like a 45-minute flight from this city to Mexico City on a small plane. So we circled for like a while, to the point of like, I'm starting to think, how much gas do we have?
You're running out of fuel at some point.
And like definitely doubled our flight time just circling. And then they're like, okay, yeah, so we can't land there still. It's too foggy. The airport's traffic jam, blah, blah, blah. We're going to go to Acapulco. Fly to Acapulco. Oh, yeah, the airport's backed up. We're going back to the city that we came from. So we just did this like crazy, like weird little loop. Go back, land at the airport we took off from. We're sitting on the runway because Mexico City's a mess. And I have a connection to Mexico City. So I'm like really starting to stress this like long connection that I had that I thought was plenty of time. But we're just sitting on the runway at this airport that we took off from 2 hours ago. They bring like a truck or something over to, or like stairs over to the plane. Somebody walks up to my seat and starts speaking to me in Spanish. And I was like, sorry, no hablo español. And then they grabbed the flight attendant and told me that I needed to get off the plane. We're just like on the runway at this airport. And
everybody else is still sitting down.
yeah, I was like row 3 on the plane or something. And they like walked straight to me, just, you need to get off the plane. So I'm like, okay. So I just walk off the plane down onto the runway, and I'm just standing out there alone. Nobody followed me. They just, like, I just walked off. Then like 3 minutes later, they walked to the door and waved me back up. And I was like, what's going on? And they're like, you're good. And I was like, okay. So I went and sat back down, and lost in translation, I did not need to get off the plane. I just needed to get out of my seat. But there were for some reason, ripping all the seats apart, searching for something. I don't know if somebody left something on the plane or if they were looking for people hiding stuff, or I don't know.
Yeah.
But they were like ripping the seat backs and the seat cushions off the seats. So they just wanted me to get out of the seat. But I like got off the plane, went down on the runway for a few minutes and just sweated because I had no clue what was going on.
Standing. Oh, wow.
And then, so we go back, end up landing in Mexico City this time, super tight connection. I book it to the gate, and I had like my little card to like leave or whatever, like leave the country, and my
like
passport,
like Visa or something.
I don't remember if it was just like an exit customs card.
Okay.
Or I don't remember. Oh no, it was. I think this was during COVID. And it was my vaccine or my COVID shot thing, because everybody got COVID shots right before, or not shots, tests, not shots.
Oh, it was your negative test results. Or
Yeah, it was negative test results. That was what it was. So I had to, like, waiting in line to get on the plane. Lady comes by collecting test results. So I give her my test results, continue in the line, go to scan my boarding pass. And the lady's like, where are your test results? And I'm like, I gave it to the other lady that was checking in the line. She's like, why'd you do that? I was like, she was taking everybody's test results. Like, what was I supposed to do? She goes, I need them. I need to see them. I'm like, all right, well, she has them. She looks at me, rips my boarding pass in half. I was like, what? What? Like, where did that come from? She like didn't have anything to say to me. She goes, you need to go get your test results. So I like go back to the lady, dig through the stack. She finds my test results, walk back up to the counter. It was a different lady. The other lady was still checking everybody's stuff. And I was like, hey, I need a boarding pass. She was like, you don't have a boarding pass? And I was like, no, she ripped it up. She's like, why did she rip it up? Because I didn't have my test results. Why did she rip it up? I don't know. Like, she just really didn't like that I did my test results. I don't know what to tell you, but I need a boarding pass, please. And she was very nice, gave me a boarding pass, and then walked me over and scanned it for me so that the other lady wouldn't rip my stuff up. But it was just so bizarre. Like, no explanation whatsoever. Everybody was super confused on why the lady ripped up my boarding pass. And I was just like, okay, I don't know what has happened over the last 3 hours. This has been the strangest, like, connection airport experience.
Seriously.
Like, it was so weird.
Must have been a water skier. Always following the rules, being so specific. Wow. I did not expect that to be. After that, though, smooth sailing, everything was all right?
Yeah, it was just a direct flight from Mexico City to Orlando, and flew and landed, and all was well. So,
speaking of Mexico, you ever gotten a coupon for a yacht party from your dad?
I had a feeling this one was coming.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, so we were in Cancun for, I think it was Worlds a few years ago. Either my 21st or 22nd birthday was over that weekend. And a lot of people were staying like the day after the event. And I think my family was down there, and they were like, we were all going to stay for like 2 or 3 extra days. And I think on the Sunday that the event ended, my dad was like, hey, I think we're going to go like rent this like yacht tomorrow. Got a coupon for it. I don't really like, it was some like crazy, like, I don't know how it worked, but he somehow had a coupon for renting a yacht for the day. And he was like, do you want to see if like Tom, Gunther, whoever's staying, like wants to come and just everybody chip in for whatever it was. And I think it ended up being like $80 a person or something to like rent this sick yacht and just go cruise around Cancun for the day. And I have no clue where you get a coupon for a yacht.
Oh, you clip it out of the newspaper.
Apparently, but it worked out amazing. It's a great time.
Sounds fun. Mexico's always, it sounds like you and Mexico have a great relationship. A lot of interesting stuff happens in Mexico.
It's very interesting. But yeah, no, that was a fun day. It was like Tom, Blake Hess, Gunther, I think Megan, my sister, and my parents. And
good squad.
Yeah, it was a really, really fun squad to just like go do nothing for a day and like just hang out and have a great time cruising and stuff on a yacht. And it was the end of the season too, so everybody was kind of like ready to let loose a little bit. Okay. So it was really fun.
Was that at Mayan Water Complex or whatever?
Yes. Yeah,
what do you think of that park?
That was fun. Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. It's a challenging place to ride boat with the watercolor.
Why is that?
It's like, I'm trying to think of another lake that you would, you know how is the Quarry like almost like chalky blue water?
The Quarry Cable Park.
Yeah.
It's pretty blue. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of like that where like the water reflects crazy, and there it's like riding boat. You're in like this lake that they dug with like white shell sides. So there's so much light just like being reflected in there, but you can't tell where the wake is, like where the wake ends as you're riding up it. So it's like a really challenging place to.
You need some wake shades.
Yeah, exactly.
Some sunglasses is what you need. That might have helped a
lot. But yeah, it's a cool place for sure. Kind of out near all the resorts and stuff.
I thought that park was bizarre. That wake park. It was fun. I had so much fun.
Yeah, it's really fun. Place. It's you've been there, so it's like you're out, like it's on the right side of the road, like kind of in the middle of nowhere, and it's just like this cool, like it is a fun park and cool place. But yeah, it's interesting.
A lot of stuff in Mexico is very interesting. A lot of fun though. All right, power rank these 5 water sports: wakeboarding, foiling, rowing, underwater basket weaving, and wake surfing.
Oh man. Well, wakeboarding. It's pretty cool.
So 1?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say like for me, foiling is definitely second. Like I really, really have gotten into foiling lately.
You could say you're loyal.
I would say I'm pretty loyal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Golden retriever like status loyal, or just
not
average
quite
dog?
there. Yeah, just average dog.
Okay.
Like I'm there. But I'm not quite a golden retriever.
Okay. Wakeboarding 1, foiling 2.
Yeah. What else do we have there?
We got rowing, underwater basket weaving, and wake surfing.
So I would have to imagine that underwater basket weaving would be extremely challenging. If
basket weaving itself sounds hard, so
yeah,
underwater.
I would think so. Yeah. And are you holding your breath, or are you? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that would be 3 for sure.
Okay.
That would be like pretty hardcore.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it could be, I guess.
I would go wake surfing next, and then rowing. I don't know. I don't really have.
Not a big rowing guy.
Not a big rowing guy.
Okay, good workout, I'd imagine. But
it's got to be, right. Like those rowing machines will make.
It's
you
all
sweat.
it is a workout.
Yeah.
It's like running. It's just not a sport. It's just a workout. All right, so we were talking about Mayan Wakeboard Complex or Water Sports Complex, whatever you call it. What's your favorite wake park that you have been to? Is it Asia, or is it you got some others in mind that?
Yeah, it's probably CWC. I think that's. I've had a lot of fun at OWC over the years. Like they would honestly probably be second, and I think that like they've had some cool setups.
OWC too?
Yeah, in the past.
Okay.
But CWC is probably my favorite place that I've traveled to and like gone to experience a different park for sure.
Did you ride the 2-tower system there?
No,
Awesome.
I didn't. I
you
think the
even
first
higher
time I went, it was broken. And then the second time I went, they like weren't running it, but I don't think it was broken, but they just weren't doing anything on it. But
sounds like typical CWC there. Is sandboarding fun?
Yeah, it's pretty fun. It was cool. Like, have you done it?
No, I've only seen videos, and it doesn't look. I don't know. It looks frustrating.
It's definitely like, I mean,
maybe it looks fun.
Okay, so frustrating as in like it's hard. Or
frustrating as in it looks like you want to make a turn and just it doesn't turn like you would want it to turn.
For sure.
Okay.
You're exactly right. Like if you know how to snowboard, like it's not that hard to like ride it, but like it was pretty you sink a lot.
Yeah.
And then also like it, I don't know. It was a fun thing to do once. It would not be something that I would go do all the time. But we were at these like dunes in Peru, and it was like, might as well go see what's up with it. And it was fun. But it's like you have like basically wipe a candle on your board, and then you got about a 10-second ride in you before the board just wants to stop because all the wax is worn off. But I mean, it was cool. It's cool.
Worth doing if you're around some sandboarding.
Yeah,
But
I wouldn't like plan a trip around it, but solid.
If you're planning a trip around sandboarding, you got some bigger problems going on. Okay, let's talk some of the technical stuff. So stance, board size, rope length, speed. So you're primarily riding boat now. What does that look like for you? All those numbers.
So I ride a 141 Supreme, and then I'm on the middle stance option, and then 12 and 12, like as standard as it gets. I used to like nerd out over stances like a lot. I think you do, right? Like you're like semi-directional, right?
I'm semi-directional, but John Drawling was the one who said if you changed his stance by one tick, you'd notice, and I didn't believe him.
Yeah, I don't believe that either.
I don't either.
I think
maybe him. I don't know.
I think if you changed mine, like if you changed one of my boots a little bit, I'd probably notice it.
But if it was equal.
Yeah. Now, I don't know. Probably not one tick. Yeah. But I think like if I read 12 and 12 and you put it at 18, like it's pretty noticeable.
For sure.
But yeah, I used to nerd out over it so much when I was a kid. I would like change my stance and see if it made me better at wakeboarding to be like 15, 12 or like whatever it was. And I was like convinced that would make the biggest difference. And then at some point I was just like, I'm wasting so much energy and thought on this. Like just go actually be better at wakeboarding.
Especially because each new stance, like it takes a little bit to, even if it's just a small-ish change, it's like, okay, this is a little bit different.
I feel like it's kind of like a mental game though. Cause like I did a whole season with one boot further in than the other one. Out of necessity, because I like messed up an insert in a board and I couldn't get another board at that time. I think they were just out of the board that I rode, so I couldn't order another one.
Yeah.
And I like stripped an insert out, so I like moved my boot in. And I did a whole season like that, and it was like completely normal. And then I was at an event last year, and my stance was messed up just like that. And I had no clue when it happened. Like I might have been riding for 3 months like that, or maybe I took my boots off and just like set it up. But I was on the dock and I looked down and I was like, oh shit, my stance is like literally one boot like on the next insert in, and I had no clue. Like it was too late for me to change it. I was just like,
yeah, I feel like it's not a big deal. You'll get used to it no matter what. As long as it's a somewhat normal stance, like not a huge deal.
I do think like a narrower stance makes it harder to like push like off the wake, I think. And so like I think if you're riding if I was riding all the way in behind the boat, I would have a pretty hard time compared to one out. But you can make anything work, I think.
100%.
Yeah.
Rope length. I don't know if you said board size.
Yeah,
board
it's
speed.
a 141 Supreme, 75 feet, and then like usually like 22 and a half on the speed.
Okay. And what boat do you have?
Tigé 22 RZX.
22 footer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not a huge guy.
No, I drive a Chevy Colorado. So I don't think I can have a big boat. It's good. Like the 22 is like pretty insane. And I don't think I necessarily need the bigger one. So I don't want to break my truck in half either. So that's a sweet spot.
Probably advisable. Yeah, I'm a bigger fan of the 20, 21, 22 footer, that zone. It's a great size boat.
Well, you're old school boat rider, dude.
OG boat rider. That's me. You know me, man. That's my MO. All right. So I was talking to Trav Robinson. There's another Patreon question. So if you want to submit some questions, make sure to join that Patreon, and I'll ask him on the show here. He is wondering about a late night hotel phone call in Michigan with him.
Yeah, we were on the road doing demos, and let's see. I think we might have been in Grand Rapids. I don't remember exactly where we were, but we're at a hotel, like 3 a.m. or something. The hotel phone rang, and I remember like Trav and I, like, we're in like a double queen bedroom, and we, like, the phone's in between us, and we both sat up and looked at each other like, hotel phones don't ring. Like, this doesn't happen. What is happening?
This day and age does not happen.
Yeah, like, and we were both kind of like really freaked out. Like, why is our room phone ringing? Like, is this a horror movie or something? So I answered it, and they're like, Mr. Robinson? And I was like, yep. We have an incident going on right now. Do you want the police to come to your room, or do you want to come down and talk to the police? And I was like, what? They're like, there's been an incident. Do you want the police to come to your room, or do you want to come down? And I was like, well, we'll come down. We'll come down. What is the incident? And they're like, you just have to come downstairs. So we go down, and in the parking lot, Travis had parked his trailer and his truck like in the corner of the lot. And I guess there was like a 20 or 21-year-old girl that was super drunk flying through the parking lot. And fortunately, Travis had disconnected his trailer from his truck. So she's like flying through, smokes his trailer, and it just like popped away, and like kind of like the truck and trailer both kind of separated. So her car was like destroyed, but his truck and trailer were like relatively okay. Definitely not super okay. Like, we were driving down the road the next day at a pretty hard angle. But like, it was semi-drivable, but her car was like completely totaled. But yeah, she had already been arrested by the time we got down there, so we didn't get to meet her. But
Didn't get to meet her.
yeah.
Thankfully, there's no boat on it, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was
huge.
pretty lucky. And honestly, his trailer was like almost perfectly fine. His truck had a little more damage than his trailer, but
His trailer kind of just probably bounced.
yeah, that's
off,
it. It just
which is
bounced
so
out of the
light.
way. Yeah.
That's wild.
It was interesting, dude. When they were like, "Do you want the police to come to the room, or do you want to come?" I was like, "Give me some context. Like, what are we
You
walking
can't lead
into
with
right
that.
now?"
You got to lead with
Yeah.
something else.
Yeah.
Lead with the context, then tell me about the police, man. Jeez. What trick would you say took you the longest time to learn?
So, longest time to learn, like, would probably be, man. So the one I've struggled with the most has been a Crow 5 for sure. Like, I probably landed a Crow 5 like fourth try when I was like 15, maybe 14. Maybe I was probably 15. And then could do it like no worries for the longest time. And then in 2020, one day I just forgot how to do it. And it has been a 3-year battle of getting it back. Like,
Oof.
literally, like, juniors was like, I would do a Crow 5, like, third trick, because I knew I would not fall on a Crow 5. And
Locked
then,
in.
Yeah. And then, like, during filming the PWT runs during COVID, when it was all virtual, I think I did so many of them. Like, I was doing it like second to last trick. So I was tired, and I did so many of them filming like runs that by the time I got to it, I was tired. So I was probably doing it really poorly. And then it just like one day got to the point of like, no longer can I do this. And it was like almost 2 years before I ever did one again, and like trying them a lot.
That's interesting because I feel like the Crow 5 is such like, it's like a toe 9.
Yeah.
Like,
Dude, it
it's-
was the most frustrating thing because I remembered it being so easy. And then I just like could not do it. And luckily they're back now, and like the last like 3 months they've actually been back, which is really nice.
Because is that a stable in your contest pass as a Crow 5?
Yeah, for the longest time it was, and then there was a 2-year period that I didn't do one, and yeah, Worlds was my first one that I've done.
So that's like a relearn, a tough to relearn.
Oh, it was
Crow 5.
like it was insane. But as far as like original learn, probably regular back mob was the hardest to like understand how to do.
You learn it handle pass or like landing?
Handle pass.
Okay.
Yeah. I still kind of struggle with it. Like, it'll sometimes goes perfectly, and sometimes I catch my nose or back edge.
I feel like the switch back mob is a lot easier than normal
Yeah.
back mob.
Switch back mob is like way.
Any switch front side spin trick is just
Yeah.
10 times easier for, I feel like, most people.
Yeah,
But there's some people who like spinning the other way, but not me.
they don't count.
Yeah. All right, 5 hour energy. You've worked with them a little bit, right?
Yep.
What happens if you drink 5 in one day?
I believe I'm legally supposed to tell you to not do that.
I feel like you would time travel or something because that's 25 hours of energy in 24 hours of a day.
Yeah, that throws things for a loop for sure. I'm pretty sure they don't recommend doing that, but you know.
Okay, so like
free country.
That's not like you didn't sign a contract with them. Is that correct, or you did?
No, I did.
You did. Okay,
Yeah.
that's not like just a pay to promote every now and again. That's like a.
It's basically like an once a month like promotion thing.
Okay.
But yeah, I've had like I think it's 3-month contracts for the last 2 years. Yeah.
And you just keep re-signing after the 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, but it is like a pretty limited like Instagram only thing, which is it's cool.
Do you like the little bottles or the tall cans?
I'm a big fan of the little guys.
Yeah, just a little rip it and move on.
Quick.
Would you
Efficient.
say it's 5 hours worth of energy that you get? Have you ever timed it?
I've never timed it.
You got to time it. That'd be a good experiment. There's your next video idea. You can give me half of whatever you make off of it.
All right, we'll just go live for 5 hours. Just see
if you fall asleep. Okay, so we mentioned CWC earlier, and I don't know how many times you've been there, but one time you were there, you were helping to judge the contest. Is that correct? Which you've done quite a bit of judging in your day. How do you handle it when people are unhappy with the results of a contest?
This came from Tom.
This did come from Tom Tigé. Yep.
Man, this was. I don't remember exactly who it was, but it was a very intense.
It's okay if you do remember who it was. You don't have to say it.
I do remember. Okay. I don't remember his full name, but yeah, it was a very intense protest. He was very opinionated about me not knowing what I'm doing.
Are we talking pro level rider or
no? This was
like a men.
I want to say veterans or masters.
Like 30 plus or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, did Tom give you anything on it?
I mean, a little bit.
Okay.
But there was some screaming, it sounds like.
There was a lot of screaming. There was like an hour of screaming.
An hour?
Yeah.
Okay, let's run through that then. How does what's the protest about to start with?
I don't recall. It was Cable Worlds. He thought he should have won and he got second.
So just contest result.
Yeah. And I think it was like something specifically about his difficulty of what he did. Okay, it's kind of coming back now.
All right.
But I think maybe he did a harder run, but like butt checked everything, and I gave it to the guy that had maybe a little more simple, but like a clean and really well done run.
Yeah.
And he came in hot and was like freaking out on me, like telling me I have no clue as a wakeboarder what things are difficult and blah 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 blah. And I was just like, okay, man. And yeah, he just basically screamed at me for 15 minutes, and then we were like, hey, let's not do this out here. Let's go into this like back room. And came in, yelled at me. I think Tom might have been chief judging, and Tom came in and defended me to a pretty solid extent.
Had a little backup.
Yeah. But yeah, it was like very, very serious, like older dude just like screaming at 17-year-old Jake about not knowing anything about anything and how I ruined his whole year and blah, 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 blah.
Well, it sounds like an open and shut case to me because if you butt checked, it doesn't count as a land, so you might as well let go. Your run's over, buddy.
I mean, that's what I think. If you're listening to this, let me know.
Yeah, let me know. That's definitely. No, I mean, that's like a tough pill for some people to swallow, but like if you butt check a run, that's you fell, in my opinion.
I remember there was like one point that like I think I kind of snapped back at him a little bit, but I don't remember. I wish I could remember like what exactly happened, because I think I just sat there and just let him yell at me for like a while, and then I just gave him like 2 sentences of like,
your ass hit the water, buddy.
yeah, like and then he like really, really shut down. And then the next day I saw him. I was leaving to go to the airport, walking from my cabin to the front to go to the airport. And I saw him and I was like, hey man, like about yesterday, like, sorry you didn't agree with my decision. Like, hope we can see past this and like I'm sorry that you're bummed with the result and we couldn't come to like a resolution that made you happy.
Yeah.
And he looks at me and goes, fuck you. And just walked away. And I was like, whoa.
Wow. Being a judge, not always easy, huh?
Yeah. I was just like, man, I just really did everything I could to try to make it right with that guy. And it just.
That's brutal, man.
Yeah.
You got to have some understanding.
Yeah.
If you're willing to submit yourself to be judged, you got to be accepting of the results.
Right. I mean, there are times like I'll never judge anybody for like protesting something.
For sure.
And like I'm happy to have those conversations, but I think it does have to be like a conversation, right? Like you have to handle it like civilly.
Be an adult, yeah.
Yeah. If you disagree, state your point and like let me state my point about why I disagree, and like we can have a disagreement without it turning into like this huge thing. But
yeah, especially if you're looking to like change the results of it.
Yeah.
If you truly do believe that you're right, you're
Yeah.
not gonna, it's
Yeah,
definitely not
exactly.
going to get it done by screaming at some guy's ear.
yeah, and there have been times that like judging, I've changed my result because of a protest and like had a convincing.
So what's that
Back
look like
and
when
forth.
someone comes to you with the run? Because the person who does the run, probably knows the run exactly the best because they did it themselves.
So a lot of times they know the run that they wanted to do.
Okay.
Like it's rare that you execute perfectly your plan, but in your head, if you rode away from it, like that went to plan. But like there are times that like, so there are times that like things are judged subjectively, right? So you have to and that's one of the like beautiful things about wakeboarding is there's not a right or a wrong or like a point value for the tricks that are done. But yeah, like you said, the person that did it knows what they did, whether they're willing to like digest that, like if they didn't have a perfect run, if they're willing to digest that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But you're right. They know what they did. But there have been a few times that has been like either I missed something and I didn't know I missed something, or I made a decision like in that moment that with a convincing argument, like it can be.
What is, I guess, I think it's interesting diving into judging a little bit. Like, what does a convincing argument look like if someone were to, because you don't want people protesting all the time about their runs that they think was better.
For
like,
sure.
Because that's,
yeah.
You're probably not right more often than not, but like what would
100%. Like it's rare that a decision gets changed.
Yeah.
But it has happened because like if you're judging things with your eyes live, sometimes you miss something or whatever. But yeah, I mean like a recent one that happened was I was judging foiling at Worlds or Nationals maybe.
Okay.
And there's two different foil divisions, like strapped and not
Strapless.
strapped.
You're either strapped on or you're not strapped on.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, one person thought that they had won. Us in the boat had a really long conversation about it and kind of came to a different conclusion. But there hadn't really been a benchmark set for what we're looking for in each of those divisions. So as judges, we were like I think everybody that was judging had like a pretty good idea of what was hard and what was not, but we didn't know the criteria of like how to separate the divisions and what the goal is for that. So we had like a really long conversation with all the judges and the person that protested about the person that protested gave us their thoughts. And then as judges, we had a really long conversation about how do we, like, this is one of the first events that has had
it's
these
kind of
two
uncharted
divisions in
territory
foiling. So like, this is going to be a precedent for how it's judged in the future. So like we have to decide kind of now how it's going to be judged. So there was a long back and forth and it ended up changing the results because of kind of the direction that it was decided that it should go in.
Interesting.
Which is like I was completely fine with it because you had to like I've foiled a lot and I have a good idea, I think, of like what's hard and what's not, but like there is no definition for what we're looking for other than what's hard and what's not. So like, how do we?
And at the end of the day, as long as you come to the correct decision, that's the whole point, right?
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
So as long as you guys feel like you did that, then it's nailed it. Got another Patreon question from Garrett Cortez. He's wondering nickname preference: Jake the Snake or Old Reliable.
I like them both.
I was gonna say they both have
yeah,
great.
it's not bad. There's nothing bad there. Old Reliable is a funny one. Dano, actually, Ruck is the one that coined it, and then Dano is the one that made it an actual nickname. Like, so one time, Ruck said it one time on the phone to Dano as I was pulling into Lake Ronix, and he said, "Old Reliable just got here." This is the one time Ruck said it, and then Dano just ran with that. And from every event on, it was Old Reliable, and that's how that one stuck for sure.
It's a good one.
And then the Jake the Snake has evolved like to many different things. There's a song called Snake Farm that Parks found and started calling me Snake Farm, like Jake the Snake and Jake from State Farm.
But
But then there's a song called Snake Farm, and it's a really interesting song. But
sure it is. All right, let's talk the future. So we're getting into the off season here when we're recording this mid-October. Competition season is over for you?
yeah.
Okay, until next coming year. What's the off season going to look like for you? You got any big plans?
Not really. I'm pretty excited to like just wakeboard for the next couple months and not have any set agenda on things. Like I do want to shoot a lot, maybe see if I can put together something, but maybe
Video part is what?
maybe we'll see. But definitely going to shoot a lot and try to get some clips and just see where that leads to. Whether it's just little YouTube stuff or social media, regular stuff, or something bigger. We'll see what ends up materializing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really excited to just have the next couple months to ride and kind of try to progress a little bit and see where things go. And then boat show season will start back up before we know it.
Sure will. What about wakeboarding right now gets you stoked? Still.
Man, I really like to see some different perspectives and like personalities kind of come through in riding. And like for me, I get more excited about watching like at the Less Than 5 event. It was really cool to watch everybody as a rider have their complete own take on how to put together 5 tricks for a Less Than 5 run. That got me like really, really hyped on wakeboarding because Luca's doing these crazy 1-footers, Shota's going bigger than like anybody I've seen like ever as he does like every time he wakeboards. But it's like, it's really refreshing to like take a step back from the normal like thing that like, I think we get caught in like this cycle in the season of like the same tricks are always happening and always getting practice. And like, yeah, maybe like another 180 gets thrown in or something gets added. But when you kind of like take that step back and go like take a different take on something that is on paper more simple, like that's pretty cool. And I think that was like what was fun about the Less Than 5 event. And I like doing that in my riding too, like going and riding with half weight in my boat and just going and doing something that is in theory basic, but that maybe I haven't done before. Like that kind of stuff gets me hyped. So
Shaking it up.
yeah, for sure.
New stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. What would you like to see that, what doesn't get you stoked? What would you like to see maybe improve a little bit? Wakeboarding or water sports or foiling, underwater basket weaving, any of those things?
I would like to see the underwater basket weaving tour come back. No, I mean, I would say like, I think I would like for our events to evolve a little bit. The Pro Tour did a pretty good job with this year with like kind of changing it up a little bit from the norm that we've kind of been in. But I think just a lot of our events tend to cater to like a pretty specific group of people, like the competitors, even like some of the bigger events that have amateurs and pros, like they're kind of in places where the only people that are going to be there are the people competing, and they don't do a whole lot to like make it something that people would want to come to. And I think like thinking back on like when I first got into wakeboarding and what got me excited about it was like when Wake Games was a huge thing and there was thousands of people on shore and live music and all the big brands and everybody just hanging out, having a good time, and like some real promotion and excitement that went into it. And I think maybe things have gotten comfortable and some of that effort
lacking innovation and
yeah,
something to
like
change.
kind of going through the motions to have an event, which is amazing to have the support of companies to like put on events. But I think it's more worth it for everybody involved, the riders, the sponsors, like everybody involved in putting on the event, if they get people to go to it. Like, right?
100%. That's the point of an event, right?
If we have like an event at this random site where nobody's going to show up at, then the only companies that are going to sponsor it are the ones that are the core ones that are going to put it on no matter what. You're not going to reach anybody else. And it's also like for the boat companies, less return on their investment if they're not reaching new people and getting it out in front of people. And so I think like kind of it would be nice to see a focus on actually having events that maybe even wakeboarding isn't the main thing there. Maybe we tag on to some of the other things that are happening and we just have a wakeboarding event at some other kind of thing. Like just a way to like create more crowd involvement and stuff would be nice. But
100%.
Yeah.
Agree with that. As a rider, so I was talking to Reed Hansen. He's one of the judges of the PWT, and we were talking about not my idea, but my thought is like the meat and potatoes of competitive boat riding, because there's a lot of it for a Pro Tour weekend, and probably most people don't care to see the early qualifying rounds.
Yep.
You know, I feel like people probably didn't care to see them back in the 90s and 2000s. Like no one really cares about qualifying rounds all that much besides like the hardcore group.
Yeah.
So like as a rider, would it be okay with you as like that's the only thing that's broadcast is the finals and it's like an hour and that's it? Or do you feel the exposure is important for all the other riders?
I think it's important to like, I think there's two sides to that for sure. I agree with you that like grabbing attention is easier if you ask for less attention. Like that's essentially what you're saying, right? Like condense it and
100%.
So I think it depends on the setting. Like, but I think it's easy for the people that didn't make that cut to have no incentive to hang around for the rest of it if they're not getting any coverage. Like, I think there's like an aspect of recognition.
That was a good one.
I feel like there's like an aspect of recognition with all the rounds that is nice for a rider that you know, maybe hasn't made it through every round and won't make the final. Like there is some recognition there that is due to like they're a really good rider probably, and it means a lot to have like some recognition built into it. But I do think like kind of the Pro Tour the last couple of years has condensed it into like a one-day event, and they basically call it 10 p.m. to 4 p.m. that the event's happening. So what you'll actually see is semis and finals, and then junior men finals and surf finals, which is not a lot of stuff to put in there. And you still give like semis recognition and stuff. And if people show up before 10 a.m., that's when qualifying is happening or whatever. So like people can come and watch the rest, and they'll announce the rest. And it's probably not highlighted in the shows that come out so much, which is fine. Like you can't give everything primetime light, but I do think there is room for more than just 1 hour, especially if it's a wakeboard event that the day you're asking people to come out to a wakeboard event, I don't think people will come for a 1 hour thing. Like if somebody's going to drive 45 minutes to come watch wakeboarding for 1 hour and that's all they're doing, like I think you might lose people. But if you're asking for 4 or 6 hours of their Saturday and there's music and beer and like stuff like that you expect them to come like make a day of it, I think that's an easier draw to bring people to a wakeboard event. But if you were to tag wakeboarding onto an existing festival, maybe you only ask for that hour because people are already there and you're trying to pull them away. So you don't ask for a lot.
You don't advertise the rest of it, but it's still going on, but you advertise that one block hour. And I think that's the same as for like if you're doing a YouTube live stream. I think that all finals need to be live streamed. Like I think we're just at that point. It has to happen.
Agree.
Like, and the whole thing doesn't. I don't even think the whole thing should be live streamed. I think you should just live stream the meat and potatoes. Like just advertise finals, top however many people tune in for this hour, because no one's going to sit down and watch 8 hours of wakeboarding.
So, in your opinion, does a live stream take away from the show that's built after it?
What do you mean?
Like, so they're doing like the Fuel TV shows for the PWT and the YouTube shows. So would a live stream take away from people tuning in?
No, because this day and age, you already found out who won. Like,
That's
it's not
true.
a secret. You already know the
that's
results,
true.
and like you pretty much know the riding that's going down. So give it to the people live, because little Johnny in the Midwest, he's not gonna watch the Field TV thing probably. But if you give him an hour of his idle pro wakeboarders that he can watch, he'll sit down and watch that hour, and he can show his grandma or whatever.
That makes
but
sense.
if you give him 10 hours of a live stream, he doesn't know what to watch or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I don't think it takes away from the Field TV thing. I don't know if I fully am on board with like the post show revamp. I think that's like a 15 years ago kind of thing. Not anymore. Everything's so accessible.
Yeah.
I know the results. I know the tricks that went down. I know everything that happened before the Field TV thing comes out. So what's the incentive for me to watch it?
So I feel like there is an interesting argument there with like, I think those shows reach a bigger audience than our core audience that didn't see the results, which is important also. But you do have to decide, like, are those numbers better than a small core group of people? Like, does reaching more people turn into a bigger benefit for everybody, or does reaching a certain demographic matter more than being widespread with 2 million views or 100,000 people that care about wakeboarding? Like, where does that?
I don't know. I mean,
I don't know
I think
the
they
answer to
both
that.
have great benefits. Like, to your point, like the Field TV, I don't know what the numbers on Field TV are. I don't really know if people really watch Field TV that much anymore, but if you can put it on, I don't know, you see it in Buffalo Wild Wings, the Chive or whatever, like that kind of stuff, like, is exposing wakeboarding to people who wouldn't normally be exposed to it.
That's true.
So yeah, there's definitely a place for some form of like wrap up of the event that is pushed out later. But yeah, I guess if you already know the results, like why are you going to watch an event if you already know the results of it?
For sure.
So that's where I think live streams are so important, where give it to the people live. It's 2023, So
I agree. And I think you see, like, at Moomba, there's a pretty good, like, amount of people that tune into the live stream.
For sure.
And I think part of it is, like, I think it's pretty expensive to do a live stream, at least the way that.
To do it well enough, probably,
So I think that's kind of the trade-off that, from my understanding, the trade-off that's been looked at is, like, do you spend that money to get a small number of people to watch the live stream, or do you take that same amount of money and put it into something to reach a bigger audience? And I don't know the right answer to that at all.
Either.
I kind of have an opinion, but then I like hear an argument for the other side. I'm like, okay, yeah.
There's always something good about the other side. I just think about like LAO, like that contest. It was so engaging to watch live, and there's probably a lot of different factors at play. I mean, there's tons of names of people that are doing crazy shit in the park on a wakeboard, and maybe it's less engaging watching just a boat, like with a wake back and forth like that.
I think inherently it's like a little bit slower paced.
Yeah.
But I also do think that there's got to be a way to like freshen it up and like maybe speed up at least the pace of the stream and like fill in with extra things. Like,
I think the pace of the stream is exactly right.
Like,
that's huge.
Like if this is like complete spitballing, but like if every rider had like in between riders, it's whatever, 2 minutes in between riders that they're swapping things. If every rider had a minute and a half, like get to know the rider interview before they rode, like that'd be kind of an interesting way to like just be more engaging than just dead time in the stream. Or
you learn who the guy is before they go off the dock. You watch their run, boom, go back to the next one, boat circles around, gets figured out, and then you go again. I
solving the world's problems.
One podcast at a time right here, baby. Let's go.
So I think like as far as live streams go, did you watch like Wake Duel?
Yeah.
Like that is like the most insane, fast paced. Like,
see, to me, that was almost a little too much.
I agree. Like 2 people on the cable, you can't follow exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
But like, it is like,
it's on the right path for sure.
It's at least at a minimum, extremely engaging. Like maybe too engaging as far as like trying to watch.
TikTok generation probably loves it though.
Yeah.
Because they got the little thing on the bottom of the screen, and then there's someone telling a story here, and then there's the captions here, and it's like, anyways.
There's no lack of action.
No.
But no, I agree. I think that it would be like, it'd be cool to have a revamp to it and like something to engage the core crowd that like you're saying, maybe won't watch the Fuel show or the YouTube show.
Definitely.
But yeah, I don't know if the goal with the YouTube show is to reach that core crowd, but like you said, they already know. If somebody really cares about the event, they follow everybody at the event, so they know the results. So,
Exactly. Yeah. They see the stories on Instagram with people who won and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I think back in the day, there was like, maybe not in wakeboarding as much, but in other sports, there's like a little bit of a drama, beef. I don't even mean to use that word of like negatively, but there is like a storyline of the riders.
Yeah.
And personally, I saw that this year in cable. Like, it seems like there's a storyline with Trent. Like, Trent's got an attitude, which is good. I like it. And like, Gavin's his brother, and it's like, is Gavin going to be the one to take his brother down? Then you got Loic, you got all these other riders.
Yeah, for sure.
I just threw those names out. I'm omitting a lot, but like, there's like a storyline of like, is Trent going to win every contest of the year? Oh no, Gavin's going to step in and win some too. And it's like, wow, that's crazy. I feel like with boat, that storyline maybe needs to be like, and cable, it needs to be like more publicly acknowledged.
It's interesting because like that cable storyline was just like extremely organic, right? Like,
For sure.
That just happened.
Yeah.
And it's like, it was organically exciting for that. If you're in the know and following the scene, like that was super organic. Like you're exactly right. Like it just happened. And I don't know what it is about, like there is that in boat riding, like Nick and Corey, it's very much like
1-2, like,
yeah, are they going to win everything or are they not? Like with Nick this year, won the last event, but up until that, like didn't do well in the pro tours this year. Yeah. Well, he was injured at the beginning of the year, and like and then same with Corey. Corey had an injury and missed a lot of the second stop at least. Like so there certainly was the drama. Like, how do you capitalize on it? What, like in an organic way though?
Yeah, and how do you showcase it to the people in an organic way, right?
Because you don't want it to come off as like
contrived.
cheesy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a Jersey Shore.
Well, I don't know. Maybe there's Jersey Shore did real well, so maybe there's
That's
some of
true,
that.
right?
But I mean, like going into this next season, like, and I'm, all the cable riders are probably tuned out at this point, but like this is a contest kind of conversation, and going into this next season, you have Gunther going to be coming back, right?
Yeah.
So that's a storyline in and of itself, and then you couple that with Nick and Corey, and like, I don't know, there has to be like a little drama between the top 1-2 guys. Like there has to be, like, you know, they're not best friends. Like that's just not how it is. And then, or maybe they are, I don't know. But if you're 1-2, there's something there.
There's a rivalry.
Talk
Absolutely.
about, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I don't know how you portray that to everyone. I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I feel like it is like there has to be some personality.
It's got to be something more than just some tricks going down.
Yeah,
Because nobody really knows the tricks that are going down, right? You know,
it seems like we're kind of, it kind of brings me back to like, this is a complete shift in direction, but like watching, like Incomplete is probably my favorite wakeboard movie ever, like to watch, just because like, I mean, some of the stuff they did was wild. And then some of like the wake tricks aren't that wild, like for the time they were, but like comparatively to now, they're not that wild, but it just looks so fun. Like everything they're doing. And I think in the contest scene, we're at the point of like unrelatability with a lot of it.
for sure. And yeah, snowboarding's gone that way. I mean, skateboarding to me has like, I've ever watched a skateboard competition and it's never relatable to me. But
yeah,
because like I can kickflip and stuff, whatever. But like I don't know. You see some crazy stuff now, and skateboarding and snowboarding too, and it's like, is it losing its relatability? And is that just the natural progression of what these gymnast type sports are? Is that?
I think it is. Like you don't want to hold back progress, right? Like
You can't really,
yeah,
right?
That's
the whole point.
You can't, yeah. But there is like, I think there's an inherent, like at some point, the average person that rides a wakeboard stops looking at it as like at the pro level as something that is like something to chase after, I guess.
Yeah.
Because it gets to that point of
It's like, I'll never be there. So I guess this isn't something I should do.
Yeah. But I think there is an important, like, that's why I really like to do those demo days and stuff, like to show people like, you don't have to go chase that to enjoy wakeboarding. Like you can motivate yourself wakeboarding. I think Murray does a really good job of that, like motivating people to continue wakeboarding and progress themselves wakeboarding without looking at the pro level of wakeboarding as the goal, right?
Yeah.
Like he makes a bunch of videos on like low impact wakeboarding that's completely driven around progression, but not in the like typical way that people look at it.
Yeah, I always thought that goal of becoming a pro was so interesting because, like, yeah, you grow up and you see the pros and you're like, I want to be just like them. But there's a lot of fun activities in the world that I'm never going to be a pro golfer.
Right.
I love golf.
But it's so fun.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
I'm never going to be a pro wakeboarder, but I love wakeboarding.
Yeah.
And like all these activities, they mean nothing more to me than I just enjoy them.
Yeah.
And I love them.
Yeah.
And so like, it's a lot of people I think get lost in like, I need to be a pro. I want to be
Like
a pro.
trying to achieve
something where it's like, no, you've achieved it. You're on the water wakeboarding.
Yeah.
You achieved the goal.
100%.
Like that's
Yeah.
it. So yeah, like you said, Murray's a great one. I think JB does a really good job too with his YouTube channel of like getting into the masses of, you know, it's not about being a pro rider. It's about having fun, and tons of other names that do it too. But
I think that's an important point though for like your average participant and anything. Like you said with golfing, like I really like golfing too, and I suck at golfing.
yeah,
There's 0% chance that golfing will ever do anything for me other than cost money. But I love it. It's still really fun. And that doesn't make me stop wanting to get better at it either.
No.
Like
you just see it for what it is.
Yeah,
and like,
exactly.
I almost wish you could just kind of have everyone see it for what it is. And
For
like,
sure.
if you're a pro, it'll come. But
So speaking of like skateboarding contests, do you remember when I was in the running for pro wakeboarder least likely to be able to do a kickflip?
yeah, I do remember that. Actually, you didn't win though, did you?
No, I don't think I won. I don't remember exactly, but I remember seeing that. And I made a video at one point of me trying to do a kickflip because you're spot on. I can't do a kickflip on skateboard.
I was going to say, what was that running that you were in for there?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely
I think
spot
it
on.
was you, Mike Dowdy, David O.C., or maybe JB. No, JB can probably kickflip, but
I bet he can.
can you kickflip now?
No. No. I think I made a video of me like not actually trying to kickflip, but like kind of halfway trying to kickflip and being super bummed about it. And I was going to send it to you, but I didn't.
You totally should have. That would have been hilarious.
I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah, the funny thing is with kickflip, though, it took me, years to learn how to kickflip. And I still can't. I'm probably like 2 for 10 on a kickflip. Gun to head, probably 2 for 10 on a kickflip. Like I could do one.
It's high pressure.
But it's, well, yeah. That's what I'm saying. If the pressure's on, I'm probably 2 for 10 on a kickflip.
It's funny, like Reed and Aaron Perkins are 2 like really good wake skaters that don't skateboard at all. Like,
I thought that was so fascinating.
yeah, like Reed does some of the craziest stuff ever.
Yeah.
Like skate style tricks. Doesn't skateboard. Same with Aaron Perkins. Like he was like pretty like pro level wake skater on the cable. Doesn't skate.
Because you would assume that's where it would come from.
Right?
Like, oh, you grew up skating, you have all the flip tricks, you know how to do it. And it's like, no.
Yeah. I guess it's a different thing.
Interesting. All right. So nowadays, who are you riding with usually on the boat? What's your crew?
I ride most with Jamie Lopina probably. Ride with Ty some. Gunther, Murray, but most like day to day, most frequent is Jamie for sure.
You guys are on the same lake.
She's 1 lake over,
Okay.
so she's on, like 5 minutes from my house. So
Gotcha. Okay. After your professional career, I don't know when it's going to end. You probably don't know either, obviously, but after your professional career, do you hope to stay in the industry? I mean, what do you have any plans that you're thinking about right now afterwards, or just taking it 1 year at a time?
kind of just taking it as it goes, but I definitely know for sure, like I want to stay in the industry. And what exact aspect that looks like, I don't know. I think it'll kind of depend on when the time comes, what opportunities are there. But yeah, my goal is definitely to stay in the industry because this is like for sure what I care the most about in the like scheme of the world. Like wakeboarding's pretty rad, like every aspect of it. So in some way, I would love to continue to be in the industry, whether it's for Ronix or Tigé or event side of things. I don't know.
Whatever it is, you just
see. Yeah, I definitely want to stay in it because, like, I mean, you know, the people are rad. It's a fun sport, fun thing to do. So
it is cool.
Yeah,
it's pretty damn cool.
Big fan.
Anything else you want to talk about? Anything you want to get off your mind? You got that kickflip thing off your mind. I feel like you were waiting on that one for a while.
Well, you just reminded me when you said skateboard contests and kickflips. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot you. You were behind that. Yeah, no, I think that's kind of in a nutshell,
we did
everything. I think we did it. Yeah.
Anyone you want to thank, sponsors, family, anything like that?
Well, thank you for having me on. It was a fun afternoon here. And for doing this. This is sick. Like, I think everybody in the industry listens to this, and I mean, you know better than I would, but it's pretty sick. Like, it's a rad behind the scenes look at everybody. So what you're doing is awesome. So thank you. Definitely all the people that support me, sponsors, and my family and my girlfriend, and yeah, life's good.
Love it, dude. All right, everyone, thanks for tuning in. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. If you do want to see who the guests are early and shoot them a question, make sure to join that Patreon. Other than that, thanks for tuning in. See you guys next time.